To the best of my knowledge, almost every African country has gained political independence from their former colonial masters, whether they be the Brits, whether they be the French, the Portuguese, even Spaniards and Belgians. But some of the individuals in those African countries are yet to experience the same value of freedom that their countries have enjoyed. And the reason actually that those individuals are still owed some of those freedoms is because of the type of quality, the type of leadership actually they have had since they gained political independence from the whites. Now, some of the people actually that found their way into power in some of these African countries actually turned into black versions of the former colonial masters. And there's nothing worse actually than being colonized by your own people. Basically just gain political independence from your former white colonial master, and you think you may have been relieved actually from some of the oppression that you experienced during their regime, and now there's a black man actually in power, and they have turned into a worse version actually of the white person.
We're saved! We're saved! What's your name, new hero?
It's Titan.
Thank you. Thank you! Titan has freed us!
Oh, I wouldn't say free. More like under new management.
And that has been a trend actually in some African countries. Not so long ago, I did a couple of videos actually on the political scene in Africa. I did a video called the top 5 trends that are followed by post-colonial African leaders. I'll leave a link actually in the description below. You can check out the pop-up button actually on the top left corner of this video. And I also did another video actually recently talking about some of the things that are being owed to Africans right now by their African countries, by their countries. So today, in today's video actually, we're going to be reacting to one of those former colonial, post-colonial African leaders that turned into a worst version of the whites.
Show me the money!
Ndilinga Talks, Ndilinga. Welcome once again to Financial Education for Africa. My name is Wisdom Jali. I am a financial advisor. On this channel, we discuss anything to do with financial education and or financial planning or personal financial planning. And we try to empower financial prudence for our people. Now, if that sounds like you, then please consider subscribing and then hit that notification bell so that the next time we upload a new video, you will be among the very first people to be notified about it. If you like this kind of content, then please smash that like button so that the algorithm knows that you like this kind of content. Basically, you're supporting this video. Now, today's video is a reaction video. Actually, we're going to be reacting to a post-colonial African leader by the name of Francisco Macias Nguema. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. Francisco Macias Nguema. He is the late president of Equatorial Guinea, one of the presidents actually in African countries, or in the African country that turned into a dictator, one of the worst. I came across this video actually not so long ago, and when a few things were happening in my country of Eswatini and how my leaders actually were responding to it, I was reminded actually of this man. So we're going to be reacting to it today. Let's begin.
Francisco Macias Nguema is by far the worst dictator Africa has ever seen. The founding president of Equatorial Guinea was post-independence Africa's most ruthless, bloody dictator and economic vandal. Macias Nguema's iron fist rule, mass murder, economic plunder and crazy behavior even made his wife to flee in 1976. And during his reign, Equatorial Guinea was a byword for a hermit country of political murders and non-existent economy. You see, Equatorial Guinea was colonized by the Spanish, and they achieved independence in October 1968, with Francisco Macias Nguema as its first president. The president was less educated, whereby on 3 occasions he even failed to pass examinations qualifying him for civil service. He only passed the 4th as a result of overt Spanish favoritism. This led him to develop an inferiority complex that turned out to a hatred of intellectuals and educated people, so bitter that he later banned the word intellectual. He got plenty of names for himself. For example, he was known as the Pol Pot of Africa due to...
While still on that point, actually, I think I saw a post on Facebook not so long ago that said that nobody will educate you if they think that you will use the power of that education to overthrow them or overpower them. So I guess one of the trends actually about this guy is that he didn't like education very much. Anyway, let's continue.
His actions after a Cambodian dictator. His 11-year reign was dubbed the Dachau of Africa after a Nazi concentration camp that used gas to kill millions of Jews in the Second World War. The dictator became paranoid of being taken out of power. As a result, the country fell into a jam of murder and mayhem. 10 out of the 12 ministers in his first government were executed and replaced by members of his own family and fellow tribesmen that he could trust. So it's common for African dictators to surround and appoint family members, friends, and tribesmen in order to entrench themselves in political power. And Macias was no different.
In a recent video I did actually, I think it's my previous video, my last video, I said that one of the things actually that we are owed in Africa is leadership that is not appointed by nepotism or tribalism. In fact, actually, the point that I made in that video was we deserve leadership that is competent or competent leadership. Now, when you appoint leadership because they have some relationship with you as the by a political leader of that country, or maybe they are part of your tribe. Well, in my country, actually, there is no tribalism at the moment. I mean, because we are one nation. We are one people actually speaking one tongue. There are no different tribes in our country of Eswatini, but I wouldn't excuse us actually from nepotism. In fact, I think one of the countries that still festers that deeply actually is my country. So one of the things actually that I think we deserve as Africans, one of the things that we should fight for is competent leadership, and competent leadership actually will come as a result of leaders being appointed by merit, by education, by credential, actually by capability and or skill. In a system or in a country actually where leadership is appointed because of because of affiliation with the political leader, and then you can be sure that some things are gonna suffer, like innovation, like actually vision, which is something I discussed actually in the previous video. This was a trend actually apparently, or this is something that this guy actually did. He appointed leaders by tribalism and nepotism and etc. Anyway, let's continue. Just thought maybe I should add that.
Notably of all his appointments is the current president of Equatorial Guinea, Colonel Todao Obiang Basogo, who became the commander of the National Guard, the military commander, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Defense, and the head of prisons. See, originally Macias drew his officials mainly from his tribe known as the Fang, but as Paranoia grew, he filled all positions with his immediate clan, the Nsangui. In fact, it is his extended family became the state. He appointed most of his nephews to senior security positions, and on one occasion, a nephew held multiple portfolios in security, trade, information, and state enterprises. A cousin ran foreign affairs. Officers in the security forces were all linked to Nguema by ties of kinship. The brutal dictator declared himself the Grand Master of Science, Education, and Culture, and launched a purge and vengeance against educated classes and intellectuals, and took savage reprisals against any hint of opposition. Whereas other African countries were looking to educate their people and sending them abroad for scholarships, in Equatorial Guinea, it was a crime to be educated. Majority of the people were executed or exiled for being educated.
Imagine that. Exiled or killed, executed actually for education. Again, in one of the videos I did recently, I said that one of the things that is necessary for Africa to be liberated economically speaking is quality education. Some of our counterparts, or maybe let me put it this way, some of the people that actually are aiming for, I don't want to use the word exploitation of Africa, when they educate their children. There was a meme actually that I saw on Facebook. I think I'm repeating this point, that In Africa, students, primary school students actually are still learning about the different parts of a grasshopper, whereas primary school students in places like China actually are dissecting mobile telephones and trying to figure out actually how, you know, the inner works of a telephone actually works. And the resultant effect is that actually right now, or in recent times, Huawei, a mobile company in China, was bidding in the race actually to provide 5G technology actually for the whole world, and they had to be removed actually from that race because of security reasons and stuff like that. Anyway, you can see the dichotomy in between the education that is being offered, you know, in China and the education that is being offered to African students. So if a political leader actually is anti-education to the effect of executing people that are going abroad for studies, or people that are aiming actually for intellectual achievement, then, you know, there is no hope actually that that particular African country will ever be economically free, because economic freedom actually and individual freedom will come as a result of the people being in that country being empowered when it comes to education. Anyway, let's continue with the video.
He waged a war on intellectuals whom he cited as the greatest problem facing Africa today, and claimed that the educated classes were polluting our climate with foreign culture. Countries were looking to educate their people and sending them abroad for scholarships. In Equatorial Guinea, it was a crime to be educated. Majority of the people were executed or exiled for being educated. He waged a war on intellectuals whom he cited as the greatest problem facing Africa today, and claimed that the educated classes were polluting our climate with foreign culture. By the end of his reign, only 2 doctors and fewer than a dozen of technical school graduates remained in the country. He declared private education subversive and banned it. 2/3 of the National Assembly deputies were killed, imprisoned, or forced into exile. When the Director of Statistics published a demographic estimate that Nguema considered to be too low, he was mutilated to help him learn to count.
Oh God.
In 2 documented cases, he ordered the execution of all his former lovers of his current mistresses, and ordered the murder of all husbands of women he coveted. Before each state visit Nguema made abroad, political prisoners were routinely killed to dissuade opponents from conspiring against him. In 1976, 114 civil servants that were picked by Nguema to replace the ones he had previously murdered petitioned to relax the country's total isolation, thinking they would be safe due to their numbers. Every one of the petitioners was arrested, tortured, and never to be seen again. Branding himself the national miracle or the unique miracle, Equatorial Guinea had neither a development plan nor an accounting system for public funds. The central bank was closed after Nguema killed the governor in 1976 and carried whatever remained in the national treasury to his rural village house. Nguema exhibited signs of overt paranoid madness with disjointed conversations and ideas. His movements were often jerky and uncoordinated. He became progressively deaf, shouting out loudly in order to hear himself. Amidst all this, he refused to use hearing aids, claiming they were Western. Macias further divorced his mind from reality by routinely smoking marijuana and drinking iboga, a traditional hallucinogen with effects similar to LSD. Towards the end of his reign, he retreated to his native remote village in Mongomo, where he took with him most of the national treasury, storing huge wads of bills in bags and suitcases in a bamboo hut next to his house. He kept the country's pharmaceutical store there as well. Many Guineans believed that he was endowed with supernatural powers. You see, his father was a sorcerer who was feared amongst his tribesmates, the Fang and the Nsangui clan. So Nguema used his knowledge of traditional witchcraft to prop up his legitimacy and to keep the local population in submission and fear. He invented plots, then uncovered them in order to prove his invincibility. By 1979, even the close associates of Nguema had realized that he was mad and lost faith in him. This came when a visibly deranged Macias executed members of his own family. The ruling clan was shocked, and one Lieutenant Colonel, a nephew of Macias, whose brother was among the executed, organized a coup, and on August 3, 1979, Macias was overthrown. Macias tried to bolt, but he was later captured, and a debate arose whether to put him on trial or in a psychiatric ward. The family decided on a trial, which was held on September 1979 on charges of genocide and embezzlement of public funds. Out of the 80,000 murders listed in the original indictment, he was found guilty of 500 counts that didn't implicate other perpetrators. Fearful of his supernatural powers, no local soldier was willing to participate in the firing squad, so the task was given to a group of Moroccan soldiers. The number of people that died in the 11-year rule of Macias Nguema are estimated between 50,000 to 80,000 people, which is proportionally much worse than the Nazi-occupied Europe. For a population of 384,000 people, 2/3 of the population was wiped out by the reign of Francis Macias Nguema.
2/3.
Thank you very much for listening.
2/3. How Africa will rise post-colonialism is dependent on the type of leadership actually that is going to be appointed into power, or the leadership that will rise into power. And as we have seen, Macias Nguema is not the only person who acted like this. The guy actually who did this video, the video actually I'll provide the link in the description. The name of the channel is Afristory Productions. It does a great job actually in visiting some of Africa's histories as well as the leaders that took power from the colonial leaders or colonial West. The trends that have resulted in people being murdered, cultures and skills being purged out of the country, national treasuries being looted to the ground, and oppositions being exiled or executed. That has been prevalent actually in most African countries. Some of the African countries that assumed leadership after colonialism actually just adopted these huge mentalities of entitlement, like they were the best things to ever happen to the continent of Africa, and therefore nobody should ever replace them and stuff. And as a result, the people suffered. So what you will be allowed to own in your country will depend on the type of economic policy actually that is adopted by your country and the type of leader that you will have. Like I said actually in the middle, that I recently did a video depicting some of the trends that were followed by post-colonial African leaders. Among them actually, of course, is this guy, Francisco Macias Nguema. And there are still many freedoms that we are owed as Africans as a result of the type of leadership actually that we have had. We have gained political independence from the whites, but we are still not yet experiencing individual independence. There is no citizen in any country in Africa, especially the average black man, that is enjoying independence in the context or in its true value, actually in its true form, in that you are allowed to own anything that you need to own, as legally as possible, whether it be land, whether it be property, whether it be wealth itself. In some countries actually in Africa adopted socialism as their economic system of governance, and it resulted actually in a huge dichotomy between the leaders and the individual citizens in the country, in that the leaders actually became rich, yet when they implemented or they employed these economic systems like socialism and communism, they were trying to alleviate actually poverty by providing for a platform that allows equal distribution of wealth, equal distribution of national resources, and equality of opportunities for all. But what ended up happening was the direct opposite of that, in that the leaders actually became extra rich through corruption, and people actually were deprived of the basic necessities of life like food and etc. So Africa is still owed many freedoms, and the reason actually that they are owed those freedoms is because of the type of leadership actually that Africans have had post-colonialism. Anyway, thank you for watching our first reaction video, and I'm sorry about the noise outside. Otherwise, yeah, thank you for watching. See you on the next one. If you like this kind of content, please let me know actually which other video you'd like me to react to in the comments below, and like this video actually to support it. And thank you for watching.